Welcome, everyone. Joe with ECRM here, and with me is Jordan Catapano, who is the co-founder of This Girl Walks Into a Bar, which makes high-quality, non-alcoholic, and responsibly sourced organic mixers. So, Jordan, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So, you guys have had a roller coaster ride of the past year or so. I mean, you launched a new brand, you were impacted by the LA fires. You had the big win at ECRM. You had a big win at Open Call, Walmart's Open Call. So I'd love to get into all of that. But let's start out first with the origin of the company and the name, because I love the name of the company. But tell us about the company, its origins, and maybe take us through the little background on you and your sister too.
Yeah, sure. So I was bartending in Los Angeles, trying to be a screenwriter, wrote a horror movie that fell flat on its face. And I was so sad about it that I decided I'm going to put my writing skills into writing a book about bartending because when I was behind the bar, women would ask over and over again, how did you get this job? This looks so fun. I'd love to get started bartending. I was like, I'm just going to write a book so I can just tell them, just here's the book because I was repeating myself. So wrote the book, asked my sister to design it because she by trade is a graphic designer. And the book came out sort of right as the craft cocktail scene was really spreading across the US. And yeah, started a book and a blog, and that got some great traction. Funny thing is that the name of the book the first time was called Women Who Make You Drink, which I thought was so funny, like double meaning, but we couldn't get any traction on it.
Mhm.
So one day on a long drive to Palm Springs from Los Angeles, it was pouring rain. It was turned into a 5-hour drive. We said, why don't we change the name? And we looked up, if This Girl Walks Into a Bar was taken, it wasn't. And we changed the name, and it really, how they say it's all in a name. It's true because that really opened the doors. So that's how it kind of started. And then we launched a bartending company, all female bartending company in 2016. And our mixer company was born out of our bartending company.
Wow. And I think the idea for the book was spot on because in my neighborhood here in Queens, I have a strip of all bars and restaurants right around the corner from me. I have a lot of friends that are in the service industry, and they don't have resources like that. So I mean, now I'm going to tell them about it, but they'll share tips and tricks with each other, but it's good to have a resource like that they can dip into.
Yes, definitely. And now you see a woman in every bar,
Hmm.
20, 30 years ago, it was more of a man's job. And now there's just as many women in the profession. I mean, maybe not equal, but you see women bartenders everywhere, airports, hotels, bar and restaurants, which is really fabulous.
That's great. That's great. And you also, so you had a staffing company as well?
Yes, we did. We didn't like to think of ourselves as staffing because we
Hmm.
were so intimately involved with the client, helping them with curated shopping lists, helping them select what best vodka or tequila to
Hmm.
buy. I mean, we were really hands on.
Hmm.
We started in 2016 with just me bartending in one city, which was Pacific Palisades. And then over the last 8 years, we grew into 4 states. We did a lot of work this past year in Brooklyn and in Manhattan, and we were doing about 450 events a year. So I think what's special about that is we had 8 years of really listening to what consumers wanted for what they were drinking at home. And that's really what, like I said, helped to launch our product because we knew there was a void in the market for what we were making.
That's great. And you're right, that is. I mean, it's hands-on in the trenches research and really learning what people enjoy drinking. And too bad you didn't go to Queens too. Why'd you skip Queens?
We were heading there. We were heading there. If
Right.
we had, if it hadn't burned down, we would have been there probably this year.
Well, yeah, so I want to get into that, but first, talk about the product launch because I think time-wise that happened before. So, talk about how you took all of that expertise and funnel it into the product launch and take us through, the products.
Sure. So we started with our margarita mix, which is deliciously tart. So that's really what the angle is and why people I think loved our product is
Mhm.
we people were asking us, can you recommend a good margarita mix? I can't find a good one. So we started to make it for people and we found that people were asking for us to deliver it even when they weren't having a party, when they
Mhm.
just having a couple people over. So in 2022, we launched our first production of just margarita mix. We did about 100 cases, so not very much. Started to get into a couple stores around Los Angeles, little independent grocers, and that went really well. Obviously, our largest client was our bartending client.
Mhm.
And in 2023, we did a larger run of our margarita mix, launching 1,000 cases instead of 100. And again, that went really well. We got into the Air One markets, a few more independent retailers. And that's when we thought, let's introduce two more flavors into our line. And we went into production at the end of last year with those two additional flavors. But people are really looking for products that don't have alcohol in them because they want to be able to customize their amount of alcohol and also decide if they even want to have alcohol
Mhm.
that night, which is great about our product. You can mix it with a little club soda or you can mix it with tequila. People also wanted products that were free of all the junk. So we're
Mhm.
making super clean products without a lot of sugar, corn syrup. And like I said, our margarita mix has really taken off because it's so low sugar. It's just
Mhm.
the best. So very excited to have these three flavors: a pineapple mint mojito mix, our Bloody Mary mix, and then our margarita mix. And then we have about 9 more flavors that we will be rolling out in the next, hopefully, 18 months.
Very cool. And you really hit on a couple of hot buttons there. One is that whole, I guess they call it sober curious movement now. So you do have a lot of people that will do just that. They'll take the mix, they'll put it in with some seltzer water or something, and that's their drink. But then also you cater to the health and wellness crowd that does like drinking alcohol, that they really appreciate having cleaner ingredients in everything that they buy. So those are two trends or things that are kind of happening at the same time, and you're nailing them both.
Yes. Yeah. We've definitely found that people really want to. Our tagline is, don't ruin good tequila with bad mixer. And I think that applies to all of any spirit, don't ruin a good
Mhm.
bourbon or a good vodka with something that's subpar. And if you don't want to drink, yeah, just drink straight from the glass.
Yeah, and a lot of people are doing more things at home, especially as prices have gone up, especially here in New York. You'll have people, even if they're just going to pregame first, they'll get together at somebody's house and make drinks, and then they'll go out later. So, I mean, you're addressing that too.
Yes, and I think that's one market we really just learned so much about during our bartending business, that
Hmm.
people do love to entertain. They want to make it easy for themselves. When it comes to the margarita, I think, so many people started making just a skinny margarita because they couldn't find a mix that they liked.
Hmm.
And then they didn't want to squeeze 5,000 limes. So we're really solving that problem for people who really want a traditional margarita, that they can pour straight from the bottle. And yeah, people love to just make it easy for themselves at home when they're hanging out with their
Hmm.
friends. Nothing too complicated.
Yeah, well, especially if you're in an urban area like here, New York or Brooklyn, LA, where we have small apartments, we don't want to have that much stuff in the fridge. We don't want to make this elaborate setup just to make a couple of cocktails. It's so much easier to just pour it in there. So for lazy people like me, that would be perfect.
I don't think that's lazy at all.
So it's efficient. It's more efficient. That's what we'll call it.
It is. It truly and it truly is.
And less messy too.
And less messy. Yes. hmm
So the fire. Tell us what happened during that time, how it impacted you, and what you've been doing since.
Well, I have to say, I think I'm like everyone in the Palisades, that no one thought it would hit the town. We've
Hmm.
had some pop-up fires. We had one week prior that I watched, at midnight, literally on New Year's Eve, that was up in the hills, but you never thought that it would get to you. We were pretty close to the bluffs of the ocean. So, like most people, we left with nothing. My son and I rode out on our e-bikes. All the streets were jammed, and we just thought, let's just get out of here. We'll be back tomorrow. It's no big
Hmm.
deal. We took a couple, laptops, electronics, nothing, nothing else. So we are happy to say we're safe. We made it out. My husband was out of town. My daughter was at school. And what can I say? My sister-in-law lost her home. All of our best friends lost their houses. So it's definitely been a tough few months, but we're on the other side of it. We're very focused on, we're rebuilding for sure. We want to go back into our neighborhood, but it was tough because we did lose the bartending business. We might bring that back at some point, but we lost all of our assets, all of our uniforms, our bar rental equipment, our, dozens of martini shakers and muddlers, and all of that was lost. And then we had a pretty large portion of our new mixer line that was sitting at my house for local distribution that was, again, 2 weeks, not even 2 weeks old, that we also lost. So the bartending company was tough because also a large percentage of our clientele is based in the Palisades. That's where we started. And there's no one in the Palisades that's having a party anytime soon.
Yeah.
So we also thought we need to refocus on our mixer line, which honestly has been, I think, a good thing, because a mixer company is very different. Scaling, as Joe,
Mhm.
like scaling CPG is very different than sending a bartender to a party and building that business. So we're just now focused completely on the This Girl Walks in a Bar mixers part of our company. And because of some success we've had too with ECRM, we are very optimistic about the future despite these pretty major setbacks.
Well, I'm glad to hear that everybody's safe, and sorry to hear about the one business, but at least now you have some positive news also to balance that out. So let's start with the ECRM. So you were at our on and off premise adult beverage session in September, I believe it was, in Vegas. Tell us about your experience there and what came out of it.
Well, the emails that I would get from your crew and from Heather were always like, it just sounded fabulous. And we just couldn't wait to get to one of the
Mhm.
conferences. It just, we're a small brand, self-funded at that point, pretty scrappy. So we wanted to find the right moment and make sure that it was going to be beneficial, that we could deliver should we have a really great conversation that we could deliver on our end. So yes, September we went to Henderson, Nevada. It was a fabulous experience. The conference is hyper organized. Like, you are our people, just like people with iPads and notepads and keeping it going, but organized, communicative. Like, it was a dream situation for type A people like us. And especially when you are scrappy, you want to see your dollar sort of stretch and be at a conference where you feel like you're really getting your, bang for your buck.
Mhm.
ECRM definitely delivered on that. So we just are gushing happiness out of that because it was it was great. So we met a lot of people. We met KeHE representatives that cover our category of cocktail beverages, and that went really well. They tasted our products, looked very carefully at the ingredients, nutrition panel, and thought that we'd be a good fit, and brought us on. So we finished onboarding early this year, and it was, yeah, we can't wait to go to another one. It was really great experience.
And that's great because it's that opens the doors to a lot of different places that they distribute to. And I know there's one of them that you were talking about, correct?
Yes, in fact, we just made the announcement today that we were accepted into all the California Total Wine and More stores. So this is definitely a dream come true. This store has a special place in our heart too during COVID with our bartending business as we were pivoting and figuring things out. But we love this store. Similar to ECRM's conference, they're very organized, very customer service oriented.
Mhm.
So we are thrilled to be in their stores, and hopefully we can push into some other states pretty soon too.
I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will. You got that momentum going. Now, Total Wine and more, do they serve consumers only or consumers and businesses as well?
You know what? That's a good question. I don't know about businesses. I know that they have a great online ordering
Hmm.
program that makes it really easy for people to either get delivery through DoorDash, and depending what state I think you're in,
Hmm.
and also for online pickup. But I'm not sure about that business. I need to look into that. That's a good one
Okay.
to do that.
Yeah, I was just curious. So, and tell me about, from your experience, right? You obviously had successful meetings. How do you prepare for your meetings? How do you go into your buyer meetings, right? You already knew who you were going to meet with. Uh, how did you approach them?
Well, we've had our eye on KeHE for a while. We first met them at a BevNet conference in 2019, or was it 2021? I don't know. The COVID years are kind of a,
Hmm.
but several years ago, and we knew that this was a distributor that we would love to work with. We feel like a lot of their ethos aligns with ours. So we knew a lot about the company, and we were really excited when they, selected to meet with us. We thought it would be a great fit. So going into it, we felt pretty prepared knowing about them. And then just our pitch, if you will, we just really stayed true to who we are.
Hmm.
Family owned, sister owned, built from the ground up with the best ingredients, And we just kept it simple and were truthful and, spoke from the heart. And I feel like we connected with them.
Great, great. Did you do a lot of the networking functions too?
We did. Yeah, those were great. Again, very organized. Every opportunity we could use to network, we did with the breakfasts and the lunches, and it went by very quickly, I have to say, but we did. It was fabulous.
That's good. We had some good weather there too. We had, if I remember correctly, because I go to so many of these, we did a lot of things outside. I know we did the grand tasting
Yep.
outside.
In that pretty
Um,
courtyard down
yep.
in the middle. Hmm.
Yeah, so that was a lot of fun. It wasn't easy for my friend to take pictures of it because it was two separate areas, but he was running around on the top on the balconies, like getting some shots. So now also you have you're on RangeMe, right? Because you did the Walmart open call, and you got a nice surprise from that. Tell us about it.
That was really unexpected. I mean, we went sort of just thinking we're still too small. We just went in for the experience to meet with
Hmm.
people. Anytime that you can talk about your brand is a great moment. So we went in with our products and prepared to, I don't know, just meet people. So at the end of the meeting, it started to become clear that we were going to advance to the next, round in Bentonville. We were really excited and caught off guard. So that was a special moment. And I don't know, Walmart's huge, but they're small. I mean, we know the story
Hmm.
behind, Sam and
Hmm.
they keep that family vibe even in a room when you're pitching. So it was a great experience.
That's cool. And I know they put a lot of resources behind that in terms of educating the brands they work with, and really helping you grow on a way that's scalable.
Hmm. Yes, and we talked a little bit about that, wanting to sort of start small in our communities and in California where we've grown our brand so far, and hopefully we can spread out from there. But they're very supportive, and they really seem that they'd be open to us leading the way with
Mhm.
what we know our brand and trusting us that we know our brand and how to roll out. So.
Great. What are some of the, you mentioned, right, you've expanded, you're in a lot of local stores and stuff. So what was that? Was that your initial approach, like when you first started, really just attacking the local spots and then kind of getting a foothold there?
Yes, and we learned pretty quickly, with the whole distributor thing that you do need a distributor. There are lots of stores we had appointments with, and I get it. They don't want separate deliveries from, 75 different
Hmm.
local brands. So we first went out like we're going to conquer all of Los Angeles. We're going to be in every liquor store and specialty store and boutique hotel. We learned, okay, well, that's not exactly how it works, kind of that green naive. We've got a great product, everyone wants it. So we scaled back a little bit, and then we're a little bit more selective with who we met with after doing some more research and finding out who would only meet with us if we had a certain distributor. But we found plenty of local stores that really want to support a brand that's grown in Southern California, and we built really nice relationships with those people, and those are some of our best selling stores is little small boutique stores or independent stores.
Hmm. And I think a lot of new brands, they're eager and you can't blame them. They want to get everywhere. They want to be in these big chains. They don't realize the grind and the slow organic growth you should go through first, kind of establishing that local footprint and your distribution capabilities. And then as you expand it and grow, so now you have that win, you're in a national with a national distributor, well, then the momentum takes on a different size. Now the wins will be bigger, and you have to be prepared for that. So, are there any
Yeah.
challenges that you've faced over the past year as you've grown this, right? Because you were new to CPG, and now you're in it. What are some of the challenges as an entrepreneur that you've had to overcome?
I think funding is probably always going to be a challenge for people for in CPG. There's a lot of talk about how much runway that you need, and it's true that you need a lot. So that has been a challenge. We have been very nicely supported by friends and family
Mhm.
and completed a small friends and family round that helped us. Again, Jocelyn and I are so scrappy that we don't need to spend much on ourselves. We don't spend anything on ourselves right now. So I think that will continue to be a challenge in that we're not a tech company. We're not. It's tough to convince people to fund you when you're, two women who have run a bartending company. And I think we're starting to see a little bit shift in that now that we have a little bit more proven track record in sales. And the other is just, it takes a while to build some of these accounts and staying in the game and not getting discouraged. When we were trying to build all of our little local accounts, our biggest account, as I mentioned before, was our collective bartending client. So we sold a huge amount of product to people, just directly to their homes. And when that was, that client was wiped out in January, we did definitely have a moment of, oh no, we need to get a larger client on board here. And we've been circling people, but it takes a long time. The stars sort of have to align. So if it wasn't for KeHE, which happened through ECRM, I don't think we would be in Total Wine right now. So I think a challenge is not giving up, staying hopeful, and every opportunity that you have to really take it and embrace it and do everything you can in that opportunity to make it the best.
You said it so perfectly because I'm a big proponent of patience and persistence. It's a long-term game. You're not gonna like all of a sudden be in a nationwide retailer overnight. It's something that takes a little time. Got to build trust. Sure, they got to like your product, but if you're new and they love your product and they've never met you before, they're gonna be a little weary, a little hesitant, not to anybody's fault, but just because they want to
Right.
make sure you're going to be in business next year.
Right, exactly. And I feel fortunate that our bottles are shelf stable. They have a 24-month shelf life. So that gives us a little breathing room that every
Mhm,
time we run production, it's not like we have 3 months to make a
mhm,
decision or we lose product. Like we have a little bit of time to let these relationships mature and to
mhm,
explore new ones. So we're fortunate, I feel like, in that way too, that we made a decision early on not to be in the refrigerated section and to
mhm.
create a product that was shelf stable.
Great. Well, you're in a great spot for that next step. So,
Thank you.
so what's next? What you did mention you have more coming out.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So we have three more flavors we would like to introduce at the end of this year, at the beginning of next year, sort of depending. The fire will continue to be a big part of my life probably for the next 2 years. I have, my family, my husband, my children. That's the priority in thinking of, just everything, every decision that we make, I have to think about my family first. So probably not moving as fast along as I would like to in some ways with business, the new flavors, but we should get there soon with those additional flavors and then more after that. So I think what's next is gearing up to do another production run pretty soon here, assuming that we're going to fly off the shelves at our new retailer. And we'd love to get some other big retailers on board as well. We have a really great product. People love it. And yeah, there's just more and more interest in high quality mixers.
Awesome. Well, listen, you're off to a great start, and congratulations on both of those wins, and actually
Thank
three wins, right? You got KeHE, you got Total Wine, and the Walmart's advancing. So,
you.
congratulations on all that.
Thank
And I will not miss you next time you're at the ECRM session.
Thanks, Joe. And I hope to be there soon. And my clubs burned in the fire. I just got a new set of clubs for Mother's Day. I'm not a great golfer, but I'm dying to go to one of the ECRM events that have golf. So
The
that is my next
PGA.
goal. Yes, to work on my game so that I can get out there and network on the golf course because I hear great deals are done on golf
Yeah, and
courses.
I think we may actually do a competition too. We did one at another session in another category last year. I'm not a golfer, so but everybody played. It was an amazing time. So well, I look forward to that and catching up with you in person one of these days. Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank